You guys remember reefer madness? You know, for years, the leftist hippie pot smoker said quite loudly, quite vociferously, and quite correctly would beat us over the head with the fact that one of the main reasons that marijuana was illegal was because the medicinal properties of cannabis would interfere with massive pharmaceutical company profit margins. This is absolutely true. Why then is it so fucking difficult for this same leftist hippie pot smoker set to get their heads around the concept that maybe, just maybe, these same pharmaceutical companies are suppressing ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine in favor of the same massive profit margins to be made off the vaccines? Now, look, don't misread. I'm as much for cannabis legalization as the next guy. But if we're looking for evidence that marijuana affects the short-term memory process, I think we fucking found it. The opinions expressed by the Reverend are his own and no one else's on the planet. Not friends, not foes, not supporters, not detractors, not sponsors, and certainly not employers. They have been adjudicated thought crime in all jurisdictions. Consider yourself warned. They are coming from the heart. They are guided by the mind, and they are guaranteed to choke you with a big, fat dose of the truth cock. Welcome back, boys and girls. It is time once again for the Sunday sermon. I like that new opener, man. It seems to be working. Everybody in for the drum roll. Let me see where the fire is in the house tonight. Yes, sir. Hard charging right out of the starting gate, boys and girls, with our bumper music coming from a band called Red Desert out of the smoldering ruins of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The name of the track is Older, No Wiser. Every week I get a little bit older, and every week you guys get to decide if I have gotten any wiser. Some weeks I do a little bit better than others. Hopefully this will be one of those weeks, man. It's been pretty good all the way around. Look at that. We got Dusty Tellison on board. Brother, it's so good to see you. I got to get back with you, man. I got to get you my information for a t-shirt. Hopefully you got some hoodies still laying around. But we can talk about that once we get wrapped up with the sermon. We got Joey on board, the Sultan of Sarcasm, and of course, the other Joey as well. How are we doing? Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America and all the ships at sea. Man, I like it. We got Carrie on board. We got Brother Ryan on board with the return to the rabbit hole last week. We're going to keep that rolling for us. Ah, yes. Look at that. Ah, my beloved Oksana. Dobry den. Ah, Sergey loves you too because Russia. Good to see you on board, man. We got Emmy and the old man on board. You did a fantastic piece of woodwork for me. I am so deeply honored by that, and I cannot wait for that to adorn the walls at the bar bunker. We're going to make some arrangements to get that done. We got Kerry Rubino on board. We got Wayne Sharp on board. We no doubt have Roman on board. Joel is here. All the usual suspects coming out of the woodwork early, man. Big old delay on. Oh, okay. All right. So we are live on Facebook. Can somebody confirm that? Because I don't know if the band is off yet or not. Can somebody confirm that for me, whether or not we're on Facebook Live? I know we're on YouTube and Twitter. And, of course, I want to remind you guys, we're doing the replay now on my channel over at BitChute. And hopefully we will be getting on Rumble either this week or the next. I'm trying to branch out to a bunch of different platforms because eventually, the big tech guys are going to shut us down. There is a war on free speech. It is more than a talking point. Holy shit, we got Julian Habib on board. Brother, it is good to see you, man. And Julian, I'm not trying to put you on Front Street here or anything, but if you guys need an example of somebody following their fucking dreams, man, Julian used to train with me He'd come out and do kettlebells and stuff with me over at Paradigm when I was coaching down there in Houston, Texas. He decided to go out to the West Coast and follow his dreams to be in the production editing, video production editing game out in Hollywood, and he is kicking ass and taking names out there. You can check him out on his personal Facebook page. Julian, I'm really fucking proud of you, man. Brother Jude Howe, we got Ariella on board. Damn, man, everybody's showing up today. Kurt Voigt from the left coast. I guarantee you he's sporting a fucking Antifa shirt right now because he's got 7 of them. Brother Jeff Truitt, man, Brother Jeff Truitt, let me give a brief shout out to him as well. He's got his own YouTube channel, Treasure Monk. Check it out. He is an interesting cat, man. We have known each other literally since grade school. He has done trigger time on 3 separate continents. He has worked as a medic on offshore oil rigs. He's lived a very rich and interesting life. And that YouTube channel, Treasure Monk, is definitely worth checking out. So anyway, man, I am so fucking thankful for everybody being here. I'm in a fantastic mood. Let me go ahead and fade the bumper music out so we can get rolling here. I'm glad everybody made it out, man. I'm doing really great here in Central Oregon. As I've said before, man, I went through some personal crises a little bit earlier in the year. A whole lot of stuff was looking to break me down, but you guys know I'm a hard motherfucker to break down. And the gods have brought me here to this little town in Central Oregon. I am out here working a fantastic job with an outstanding crew, and it's really helping me get my head back together. And I was out there on the job site today. We were flying some stuff, and winds picked up a little bit, but we still got done what we needed to get done. Just a fantastic bunch of people out here. I'm gonna be doing one of my Reverend Bart remixes of a DMX classic, but my remix is gonna be My Riggers. Yes, My Riggers, and that's with a soft A because I don't want to get anybody in any kind of trouble. But but I'm gonna write those lyrics out because it's been bouncing around in my head all day. Let's go ahead and jump into this thing, shall we? I want to give a shout out to sponsors first of all. My brothers Casey and Dusty Tellison, the Viking brothers from Nordic Smoke Barbecue, the only legit barbecue in the Inland Northwest. They are a veteran-owned and locally owned company out of Spokane, Washington. They set up right there off of Sprague at American Gun and Pawn every Thursday. Go see the smoker truck, the Viking long ship. Go see it in person and check it out. As I said, the only legit barbecue in the Inland Northwest. Oh my God, brother Sonny Puzikas. I'm glad you made it out. I don't know when I'm going to make it down to Texas again. Hopefully before the end of the year, and guaranteed, man, on my list of people to visit, you already know, man, I'm definitely making a trip to Fort Honey Badger. Brief shout out for Sonny while I got him here. You guys that are in Texas, the tactical community down there, you have a phenomenal resource outside of being a close and dear friend. You guys know, if you haven't been living in a cave under a rock on a remote planet for the past fucking 10 years at least, that Sonny Puzikas is the man when it comes to tactical training. He's got a tactical range and an organic farm out there at Fort Honey Badger. Check him out online, sonnypuzikas.com. And if you guys are in Texas, or even if you're not in Texas, take a look at that class schedule. And if you can make it out, get some fucking training in with this man. We have been friends now for over a decade. My first class with him literally changed my whole perspective, not just on things tactical, but I mean, I know it sounds hyperbolic, but I'm being honest and I'm not blowing smoke up the man's ass. It literally changed my perspective and changed my life. And it can do a lot for you too. We are going into, if you follow this program, you already know the world's going into a fucked up place, and you need to get your ass out there and make yourself a little bit harder to kill. So check out Brother Sonny online. One more shout out to my other flagship sponsor, and that is Roman over at opiumtales.com. They are the erotic pinups and portraits people. Roman and Allie and Roxy and that bevy of beautiful women over there. You got gorgeous women and testosterone-driven commentary. What's not to like? And of course, Roman is also one of my oldest and dearest friends. Yeah, yeah, Jude can speak to it, man. Jude went out to a class with me one November several years ago. Him and brother Sincere Hogan went out to one of Sonny's classes with me after me just going, guys, you have to, no, really, no, you have, you know, and part of me still kind of thinks, I think Jude and Sin went out there just to shut me the fuck up. but, but once they got out there, you know, they became true believers. If you want to learn how to run an AK-47 play, if you want to learn how to run the Kalashnikov platform properly, you know, one of the first things that I remember saying, Sonny saying on that first day out there, you learn to shoot on your own time. You come train with me, you learn to fight. And yeah, most fucking definitely, man. Get your ass out there. He will take you to some dark places, some very, very dark places. But you know what? The world is a very, very dark place. So what better way to build your adaptability? Let me jump into this real quick. George Williams getting on board as well. Thanks, man. Man, what a turnout today. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. We got a ton of fucking bullet points to get into. Things that I want to cover. Events of the week, first of all, and we're going to go through that. As promised in the header, when I posted that I was going to be doing this sermon, I'm going to tell you guys about a mandate that I would actually get behind. There are some qualifiers with that, and we will get to it. But the main thing that I want to get into, and we're going to trail into that towards the end of the program, is the reason why. And again, I know a lot of you guys are, you know, you're starting to develop a sense for my reluctant optimism for where things are going. Too many people are getting black pilled, and we're going to get further and further away from that. I'm going to throw some stuff at you to show you that, yes, we have crested that tipping point. We are through the looking glass. We have crossed the fucking Rubicon. Pick your fucking cliche, but we're winning. That's the important bit. We are fucking winning. You know, they have tripped the triggers. They have awakened that sleeping giant. You know, it's the Reverend Bart cliche festival right now, but fucking take it and run with it. I don't care. And this, of course, fueled by my ever-present bottle of liquid enthusiasm. All right. So here's what's going on in the world. First thing I want to do before we do that is the return last week of everybody's favorite segment, Ryan's Rabbit Hole. That's right. I need to work a soundboard so I can quit having to look up the applause sound effect. Ryan's Rabbit Hole, ladies and gentlemen. All right. But yeah, we brought back the Ryan's Rabbit Hole segment last week. It's always been a big hit, and this week is going to be no different. I'm going to give you this one. Ryan's Rabbit Hole this week is Percy Julian. Percy Julian, and I'm going to spell that last name for you, Julian. Now, there is a reason why Percy Julian is important to me and other muscly gym rats, but it ties into what I was talking about earlier and also some of the points I'm going to make earlier. He was, first of all, an African-American. He was a research chemist, and the thing that he pioneered was the chemical synthesis of medicinal drugs from plants. That is his claim to fame. He's got over 130 patents. The ones that appeal most to me, of course, were using plant sterols, including Mexican yam and some other favorites that are marketed as testosterone precursors. But he helped a lot of pharmaceutical companies synthesize anabolic steroids using plant sterols as a basis. And he did some pioneering work. He's a very interesting character. So look him up. That is Ryan's Rabbit Hole for this week. Just a little poke into the bread oven. You guys do your own research and go down that rabbit hole. A lot of people making a lot of noise about following the science, but a lot of true science guys don't really get the credit that they deserve. And of course, what he did was much bigger than the steroid thing. That, of course, is what appeals to me. Not that I've ever played around with those substances. Oh God, they see through me. They see through me. Okay, yeah. But the larger point with regard to Percy Julian is, and again, getting back to what we talked about in the header, that the lefty pot smokers, they're they're really, really quick and quite correct in pointing this out, that one of the biggest reasons why uh, one of the biggest reasons why marijuana was illegal was because the medicinal properties of cannabis affected pharmaceutical company profit margins. That is one of the largest reasons. And of course, the control mechanisms. And again, history repeating itself. Pharmaceutical companies protecting their profit margins and government entities exercising extrajudicial authority to expand their control base. So let it be with marijuana back in the Harry Anslinger days in 1934. So let it be with COVID. And again, we're revisiting that. But one of the things that plays into what the cannabis people talk about is anything that is derived from natural sources, anything that is naturally derived, they can't put a chemical patent on, and therefore they cannot profit. Hydroxychloroquine is chemically synthesized. It's not a natural item. Ivermectin more or less is, but the larger point is this: both of those substances are essentially public domain. The pharmaceutical companies cannot profit off of these things, not the way that they can with, say, vaccines or treatments, because the vaccine, let's call it what it is, it doesn't prevent transmission and it doesn't prevent contraction of the virus. Therefore, it is not a vaccine in a true sense of the word. It is a treatment. And of course, Merck now is coming out. Merck, the same company that patented ivermectin back in the day, right, is coming out with a treatment that's basically ivermectin 2.0, and they're about to make massive profits off of that. It's not complicated. You don't need this big convoluted conspiracy where the gnomes of Zurich and the elders of Zion and the secret council of 12 and the Bavarian Illuminati are all, juggling political footballs to pioneer this massive thing. Money protects money and power protects power. You guys have heard me say it a million times. It's an absolute undeniable truth, and I stand by it. And they are protecting that. Yep, Ryan, again, William Randolph Hearst played into that. I'm going to give you a quick book recommendation. Most of my viewers and listeners have probably read it already, but it's by a man named Jack Herrar. It's called The Emperor Wears No Clothes. I was actually, you remember we discussed Jello Biafra a couple of weeks ago. I was given a copy of that book by Jello Biafra when I was just a young neophyte exploring the world back in the early 90s, in my early 20s. So, yeah, check it out if you want a look at how the cannabis laws play into the protection of corporate profit margins and government exercising extrajudicial control. Read that book. Yes, it is cannabis specific, but it speaks to the larger point of how money protects money and power protects power. Jeffrey Outlaw. Yeah, man, it has been a long time, man. Good to see you. I was just noticing earlier, I was going through some old Facebook posts and I saw your comments, but you no longer have a Facebook profile. So I'm glad you're still checking out the sermon. We can definitely talk later. Thanks for swinging by. So yeah, wanted to touch on that briefly. Again, Percy Julian, Ryan's rabbit hole, and go down that rabbit hole a little bit. Let's get into the events of the week. We will start off with the people are generally shit / party over principle department. And that is coming from Canadian News. As of October 8th, 2021, Canadian News does this story. Canadian charity refuses to accept Jordan Peterson's $70,000 donation. Now, you guys already know how I feel about Dr. Jordan Peterson. Some of you share my enthusiasm for Dr. Peterson. Some of you guys not so much about JBP. It doesn't matter. Here's the larger point. He decided to raise money for charity, and here's how it all got started. Marvel Comics released a Captain America series where they basically did a version of the Red Skull that was a rough analog of Jordan Peterson. Yeah, that's right. Dr. Lobster himself got compared to the Red Skull, or more to the point, the Red Skull to him. The Red Skull in that particular series had put out a book called 10 Rules for Life. I mean, it was obvious what they were trying to say here is that Jordan Peterson is somehow some stealth Nazi who is insinuating himself into the minds of young men in the guise of providing them guidance, but secretly he's trying to steer them into authoritarian right-wing extremism, yada, yada, yada. Well, Dr. Peterson thought it was funny. He's got a very self-deprecating sense of humor. He appreciates the jokes about the lobsters, the fact that he sounds like Kermit the Frog. He has embraced that. I mean, he doesn't mind. He doesn't take himself too seriously. So what he did was he put out a series of t-shirts, which was basically him with his rules for life, but him with a Red Skull head on. And he sold these t-shirts and was going to donate the profits to charity. And he wound up raising $70,000 in donations. And he was going to split that up between two charity organizations. Now, one of those charity organizations was the Boys and Girls Club. You guys are familiar with Boys and Girls Clubs of America, and it was the same thing in Canada. The other charity, they wouldn't go so far as to call them out because, again, Dr. Peterson is not the kind of guy that is going to call somebody out like that. But the other charity refused. And this is the thing, that charity, they did say what the charity was about. And it was a charity that supports kids and families that are going through mental health problems. Dr. Peterson was a practicing clinical psychologist. So this is a cause that was very near and dear to his heart. And the money got sent back. They sent the money back. I'm trying to find the actual quote. I'm paraphrasing because I'm scrolling and I'm quoting from memory here, but essentially what they said was, we don't want your filthy, dirty, right-wing extremist money. I mean, they weren't quite that harsh about it. But yeah, they got the money back, and the charity said, we did not agree to such an arrangement, and we would like to basically curtail all association with you. We don't want to be associated with you. We don't want your filthy money. Now, on the one hand, I will have to give that charity credit for walking it like they talk it. If you're going to be a left-wing fucking lunatic, well, then go all the way. Go ahead and be a left-wing lunatic and refuse money from people that upset you. Rock the fuck on. I mean, like, I get it. I at least admire their consistency. However, when Dr. Peterson is trying to do something out of the kindness of his heart, something that is coming on, that is dovetailing off of, that these same lefties basically calling him a Nazi in not so many words. And he's like, okay, yeah, I'll show you what an evil Nazi I am. I'll give $35,000 of money that I raise off of me joking about your joke, and I'll give it to a mental health charity for kids. And the charity says no. Absolute shit. This is the left. This is the left. Sorry. And I know that I've got some Democrats that are viewers and listeners. I know that I've got some liberals that are viewers and listeners. I doubt very seriously that I have any hard leftists, unless these guys are just reviewing my video looking to get me banned from Facebook again. But this is the left. This is the left, guys. This is your fucking team. They have gone to such bizarre fucking extremes now that they are turning down money that could help kids with mental health issues and the families that are nurturing them through these crisis times. They would rather forego $35,000 that could have done a fuck of a lot of good than to be associated with someone as evil and right-wing extremist as Dr. Jordan Peterson, which, first of all, if Dr. Jordan Peterson fits your definition of Nazi, I submit to you that the word no longer has any meaning. But again, I'm largely preaching to the choir here. So let's move on, shall we? Next bullet point. Next bullet point is coming from the take my tinfoil hat, crumple it into a ball, and stuff it right up your sanctimonious little ass department. This coming from the Daily News out of the UK. Government issuing keyword warrants to Google that request info about users searching certain phrases. Now, the fact checkers are going to come out and say that this is debunked, that this is false or mostly false or whatever, whatever hashtag, whatever hashtag intellectual gymnastics that they have to pull to make themselves feel better, because what they're saying is that it was only about one specific case and they were only issuing warrants for people that searched about a specific crime victim. But dig deeper and you will find that yes, in fact, they are issuing those warrants and it is not specifically for that case. Now, this is something that shouldn't be that hard for anybody, even the most grazerish among you, to get your heads around. The NSA has been doing this forever in monitoring communications, and of course, it ramped up under the Patriot Act, under Bush the Younger. They search for keywords. They do that. It's something that they do routinely in all communications. So the fact that they're trying to say that they wouldn't do it specifically for Google and specifically in this day and age is utterly ridiculous. They've been doing it literally for decades and decades and decades. They were writing about that in a book called The Puzzle Palace about the NSA that was written sometime in the mid to late 70s that I finally got around to reading some point in the 80s, and that shook my tiny little brain. Here's the thing. Yeah, they issue it. They do. So rather than get blackpilled about that, what do you say we have some fun? Something that me and a friend of mine used to do, Melissa Biddle, down in Houston, Texas, we used to answer each other's phones with as many of those flashpoint words as we could. For instance, I would call her and she would answer, Assalamu alaikum, Muhammad Alabam, right? And, or she would call me and I would be like, fucking Tom Metzger's Michigan Militia House of Automatic Weapons, Malcolm X speaking. How may I help you? Have fun with it. Put all kinds of stuff. I would enter the Nation of Islam's website on one tab and Stormfront on the other and just bounce back and forth, refreshing the two. So it kept firing off. And secretly, because I was lonely, here's what I was really hoping for. I was hoping one day that 4 black Suburbans were going to roll up in front of my house, and 2 guys in poorly fitted suits with T-shades were going to come up and they were going to knock on the door, and I was going to open the door and say, yes, may I help you? And one of them was just going to get right in my face and say, knock it off, dude. It's not fucking funny. And after that, they're going to leave you alone. But yeah, don't get blackpilled about it. It's something they've been doing for years. Just accept it as a reality and have some fucking fun with it. Have some fun with it. Go wild. Every weird thing that you ever wanted to search for online, whatever, Czechoslovakian Antifa goat porn, just go wild. Pick some search terms that are going to entertain you at the very least and get busy with it. Yeah, so that's from the take my tinfoil hat and shove it right up your ass department. And we will move on to the next tag. Good Lord, man, we're already 30 minutes in. All right, cool. In the warning, big shit is coming your way, but don't get blackpilled about it department. This came out as a press release. You guys may or may not be familiar with Augustin Farms. If you are a prepper or survivalist on any level and have been for any length of time, you should be at least tangentially familiar with Augustin Farms. They are one of the largest commercial producers of freeze-dried storage food and emergency storage food in the country. They're not quite as big as Mountain House. Nor are they quite as good as Mountain House. That's just my personal opinion. But yeah, they do sell their product in Walmart. If you're in one of those parts of the country like I am in the Northwest where they have prepper food, a whole section of prepper food in the fucking Walmart or in the Winco, it will generally be Augustin Farms. Well, Augustin Farms this week came out and had a press release saying that they were, and I'm quoting, ceasing operations for 90 days. This was basically attributed to supply chain issues. And I'm sure that it is supply chain issues. It's a combination of supply chain issues and massive demand, almost as if some higher power had ordained it that it was going to be this way, and that crises like these were supposed to be coming down the pike. But it finally hit Augustin Farms. So again, during these 90 days, this is what they said. During these 90 days, we will secure and stockpile raw materials and take measures to accelerate our round-the-clock production output. We will also review our product assortment to make sure we focus on relevant, top-selling items. We are confident that this reset period will help us better serve you with on-time complete shipments in the future. But yeah, Augustin Farms shutting down their operations for 90 days. This is something worth paying attention to on two levels. Number one, you guys should already have your prep squared away. You guys should already have your house in order. If you do not, you're essentially too late, but you better get your fucking scramble on at this point. You better be hitting up places like Safe Castle Royal and Emergency Essentials and some of the other clearinghouses. Talk to your LDS cannery. Some of the LDS Bishop Storehouse food storage facilities have been shut down, allegedly due to COVID. I think it's just the Mormons looking out for their own, and who could fucking blame them? But they are a good resource to the prepper community. But get your shit in order. That's one level that you need to be paying attention to this Augustin Farms thing on. But on a larger level, that means if supply chain issues are causing problems for them, not only is that an indicator, but there are a million and one other red flags going up that we could be looking at food shortages. Now, we can have this debate, and maybe we will another Sunday, about whether this thing with the ports is because they are legitimately low on manpower and can't find enough truck drivers and can't find enough crane operators and I don't buy that for a second, but maybe, or whether it's by design. But in any case, container ships are stacking up in our fucking ports. Things are not getting delivered. And whether it's by design or whether it's incidental to previous fuck ups as a result of this whole COVID lunacy, it doesn't matter. The end result is the same. Those supply chain issues are going to cause food shortages. If you don't have anything put back, fuck it. Buy a couple of 100-pound bags of rice at your local Asian grocery. Have something. Because when this thing hits, man, you've heard me say it before, that neighbor that you've been cool with for the last 20 years, and it's been backyard barbecues, and you guys hang out and exchange, a fifth of Jack Daniels over Christmas and New Year's and all this kind of stuff, when all of a sudden that guy's little girl is tugging on his pants leg going, "Daddy, why does my tummy hurt?" And Daddy knows that the answer is because we haven't eaten in a week and a half. That neighbor's coming for you. So if you're going to have the food put back, better have some bang bang toys to defend that shit. Guys, what platform did I just reload there? I see Sonny out there smiling at the very least. G-Dub, good to have you on board, man. Yeah. G-Dub, not only is he a friend and supporter of the program, but he's also a truck driver, so he's been out there in the thick of it, and he's gotten to see a lot of this stuff firsthand. We're going to move on to the next bullet point. Like I said, man, we got a ton of shit to cover today, and we're already like halfway through the hour. Next one is coming from the This Is All by Design and How Fast Can We Waste Your Tax Money department. This one coming from the Western Journal. Biden's former border chief. This is not a Trump guy. This is not a member of the former administration. This is Biden's former border chief. Says that the administration was spending $5 million per day to not finish Trump's border wall. Biden's former Border Patrol Chief Rodney Scott said this week that the administration was paying up to $5 million a day to contractors to not complete the work. Let me say that again. $5 million a day not to work. They haven't ended it because they can't legally totally shut it down. They have to keep these people on station, and because of the nature of the contract, these people continue to get paid to the tune of $5 million a day. Many of these projects are still on hold, so we're paying contractors. Said Mr. Scott, there are stacks and stacks of border wall panels, he added, along with hundreds of miles of fiber optic cabling, hundreds of cameras that are just sitting. There is no action being taken. That money is just trickling away to those contractors, specifically not to work. So basically, these contractors are getting paid big money to watch metal rust in the fucking desert. Your tax dollars at work, boys and girls. And in the meantime, we have the worst border crisis in United States history going on right now, that they are not only reluctant to do anything about, but deliberately avoiding doing anything about, and doing their best to act as if nothing is going on. And again, that's by design, but that's the subject for another rant on another Sunday. I just wanted to let you guys know that this is what's going on. And keep in mind, getting back to the border and getting back to mandates, the Border Patrol is about to lose a shitload of officers. Why? Because they are not going to submit to any vaccine mandates. Meanwhile, the illegals that are pouring across the border, they're not being required to get jabbed. I mean, that seems like a much easier enforcement than on American citizens, doesn't it? Either you take the jab or we dump your ass back on the other side of the border. But instead, no, come on in. Don't worry about taking the jab. We'll put you on a jet and we'll fly you to a swing state. This is all by design. But again, that's something for another Sunday. We all know what's going on. What about the mandates, Bart? What about the mandates? I did promise you that I would tell you about a mandate that I could get behind with some qualifiers. All right. And this is it. Since we know, not think, not speculate or hypothesize, we know the CDC has admitted it, the WHO has admitted it, the National Institutes of Health has admitted it, that none of the vaccines that are currently out there prevent you either contracting COVID or spreading it. None of the vaccines out there do that. None of them. The CDC has said it. This is where YouTube is going to try to ban me for spreading misinformation. But I'm just repeating. And again, their criteria for misinformation is going against the CDC, the WHO, or the NIH. All three of these have admitted that none of those vaccines prevent you contracting or spreading the disease. The World Health Organization admits it. National Institutes of Health admits it. Centers for Disease Control admits it. All three of them admit it. So we know. If we know, then there is literally no logical justification whatsoever for really the mandates, period, but certainly not for the passports. Because how are they selling the passports to us? We have to control the spread of the disease. Well, how is that controlling the spread of the disease? If you're vaccinated and you can contract and spread the disease anyway, you walk up to a restaurant and, we need to see your vaccine card. And you hold up your proud little grazer and you hold up your bad card. Look, I'm vaccinated. That doesn't mean shit. It means you were obedient enough to take the jab, but it doesn't mean that you're infected. So if we're serious, and this is what I'm offering as a mandate in compromise, because they're all about that compromise. What about we have compromise? Okay, here's a compromise. Here's a mandate I would reluctantly get behind. And again, with qualifiers, we have tests now that provide instant results. We don't have to wait 3 days. We don't have to wait a week for the test to come back. We can literally swab, check, and done. We have those. So if we're serious about controlling the spread, stands to reason that what we should be mandating is testing in all the places where you're currently required to present your vaccination card if you're in one of those blue states, right? Grocery stores, sporting events, public functions, indoors, all of these things How about testing for everyone that walks in the door? That way, even the good little grazers who look, I've got my bag card, right? I took the jab. I took the jab. Okay, give me a spit swab. Oh, you took the jab and you're still fucking infected. This is going to serve two purposes. Number one, it's legitimately going to control the spread. And number two, it's going to make even the obedient little grazers realize that, because this is for them, it's all about it's not about controlling the spread. It's about, we get special privileges because we did what teacher told us. Yeah, that's because that's what they all sound like to me. So there's a mandate that I could get behind. Universal testing at all these places in public. Now, government mandate, maybe not, but at least give these businesses, if they're serious about controlling the spread and about public health, give them the option. If you don't want those dirty, unvaccinated, infected, if you don't want any of those dirty, infected, leper, unclean, I have a respiratory infection with a 99% survival rate, be gone, be gone. If you don't want those people in your business, test everybody at the fucking door. But no, that compromise isn't going to happen, because it's never been about public health or controlling the spread. It's been about control. As we said from the outset, as we've said from the beginning, corporate profit margins and government control. Money protects money, power protects power. And that's what it's really about. So, anyway, that would be the mandate that I could get behind. Here, from the rules for thee, but not for me department. Speaking of, I finally found something. You thought, oh man, you were shocked that there was a mandate that I could get behind. Well, you know what? Here's something that Governor Gavin Newsom of California did that I could get behind. He's a shitbag for doing it. He's a duplicitous, lying prick, fucking waste of flesh. But the actions that he took, I'm 100% behind, not for the reasons that he took them. Here's what just broke today. Governor Gavin Newsom, the guy that mandated shots for everyone, and California is the first state in the nation to mandate shots for people under the age of 12. Well, Governor Gavin Newsom today admitted that his own 12-year-old daughter has not been vaccinated against COVID-19, despite the fact that she is qualified to get the shot under California state and federal law. His own vaccine mandates, K through 12, all the kids have to get the jabby jab, but his 12-year-old daughter hasn't gotten it. How many more times does this blow-dried piece of shit have to rub it in people's faces before even the most fawning, faithful, the grazerest of the grazers has to finally admit, wow, this guy is a power mad piece of shit? Wasn't bad enough that while he's got mask mandates and fucking locking everybody in their houses, that he has this dinner at this upscale restaurant where nobody's masked and nobody's social distanced, or the 4 other things that he's been caught in of a similar nature, that he keeps fucking doing these mandates and not following his own mandates. And now he wants mandates that your kids, your children, have to take an experimental vaccine. Your kids. But not his kid. Not his 12-year-old. As big a scumbag as Gavin Newsom is for this duplicitous shit that he's pulling right now, and the million other fucked up dictatorial, authoritarian things that he's done, I'm going to go with him on the actual decision, which makes what he's doing for everybody else even shittier. Hello, brother James Pearson. I'm glad you made it out. By the way, Sonny is here too. I still need to make the introductions. He's a piece of shit, not for protecting his own child. See, that's what I'm getting behind him on. But for protecting his own child from the poison that he wants to inflict on yours. The things that I want to say will get me banned from everything. Suffices to say, there is no consequence that is too great for that. Protecting his own child while demanding that you poison yours. It's inexcusable. But here's why he is in the right for protecting his own child. Here's a little stat that came out. This from the CDC's own numbers and Matt Walsh processing those numbers for us over on Twitter. Less than, you ready for this? 0.0006, not 0.6 or 0.06, 3 zeros, 0.0, less than 0.0006%. Yeah. Not a hundredth, not a tenth, not a hundredth, 6/1000ths of 1%, less than 6/1000ths, 1% of the child population in this country has died of COVID over the last 2 years. Less than 1% of all child deaths during that 2-year period are attributed to COVID. There is no pandemic for our kids. There never has been. It's all a lie. But we knew. Slippery slope fallacy guy. I know you're fucking watching. You know I'm looking at you. We knew it was going to get to that point. And by the way, slippery slope fallacy guy, if you decide to get your kids jabbed, don't tell me about it. Because at that moment, our friendship terminates. I don't associate with child abusers. Yeah, I said it. Glenn Greenwald, you know, that nobody crazy right-wing extremist journalist, Glenn Greenwald, you know, the guy that broke the Snowden story, the guy that was a hard fucking leftist and is now fucking essentially broken from the left because he just couldn't stomach choking on the bullshit day after day. Total number. Now, here's the thing. There was a poll that came out. It's a CBS News poll. Will you get a coronavirus vaccine for your child? This was directed at parents of children ages 5 to 11. They were all asked, whatever the sample size was. I can't get a peg on it, but you can look it up for yourself. CBS News poll. Will you get a coronavirus vaccine for your child? This is parents of children ages 5 to 11. Out of everyone that responded, 37% said yes. 35% said no. 26% were in the middle saying maybe. Now, I will let you come to your own conclusions about what those people in the middle were trying to hide, whether they were trying to hide their advocacy or rejection of the vaccine. You could make a case for either. But what Greenwald points out is that the total number of Americans under 18 years of age is 74 million. There are 74 million Americans under 18 years of age. The total number of Americans under 18 who have died of COVID since this thing kicked off, not this year, not this month, but since this thing kicked off in January of 2020, the number of kids under 18 who have died of COVID. Anybody want to take a guess? I'll give you 15 seconds. 15 seconds. And by the way, G-Dub, yes, there's a lot of that going around saying they'll take the kids if they're not vaccinated by a certain date. Ton of that going around. So out of 74 million kids under the age of 18, how many have died of COVID since January of 2020? Take a guess. Anybody, somebody, post it up. I'll give you another 10 seconds because we got to get rolling. Grand total, drum roll, please. Since January of 2020, 499 kids have died from COVID. That's 499 out of, again, 74 million. And now there's not only a push and encouragement for these kids to get vaccinated, they're actually talking mandates. Whole lot of really, really, really negative shit. By the way, Roman, you were over by one, but you're the closest and you win. As soon as the Truth Cock shirts come out, you'll be first on the list. Yeah, there's a lot of bad shit coming down the pike, and it would be real easy to get black pilled. But guess what, boys and girls? I promised you. And we're heading into the home stretch now, so I'm going to break it all down for you guys. We're winning. We're winning. Because they went too fucking far. There's a great quote, if you guys have ever watched the movie JFK, and Donald Sutherland is talking to Kevin Costner. It's, X talking to Jim Garrison. They're on the plaza there in Washington, D.C. So the thing you got to remember, Bubba, is that fundamentally people are suckers for the truth. And I believe that. And the truth will out. No matter how much they beat us over the head with the narrative, no matter how badly they just cudgel us on a day-to-day basis about what terrible, selfish people we are. And if we don't get with the program, that everybody secretly hates us, that we're in the fucking minority. And by the way, Sonny, that's an excellent point. How many died from COVID or with COVID? Exactly. It's a very important distinction. Essentially, the reason why I'm just granting it for the sake of argument, it's like, okay, these are your numbers, All right. Jab Nazis, these are your numbers, Sparky. You're telling us 500 have died. That's even by your stretch. So, but yeah, no, that is an important distinction, and that's one that very few people are making across the board. You win by Price is Right rules because Roman went one over. Anyway, getting back to it, people are suckers for the truth, and you can only drive this narrative for so fucking long. And the mandates looks like it might have been one step too far. There's at least one guy in the audience right now. Yes, and I am familiar that X, and that was supposed to be Fletcher Prouty. Good job, Ryan. See, this is why Ryan, it's shit like that, this is why Ryan has the rabbit hole. He's also like murder to play Trivial Pursuit with, because he's just got that eye for the obscure and the esoteric. Anyway, people are cracking now. People are cracking because it's affecting them directly and not the way that they wanted it to. See, what they wanted to happen was that once it started affecting you directly, it started impeding your ability to make a living. It started impeding your ability to go to the grocery store, to carry on day-to-day activities. They expected everybody would break. That isn't happening. As we've discussed over the past couple of weeks, look at the stuff that they're not covering, that the mainstream media is not covering. Even Fox really hasn't touched on it. OAN, a little bit. Newsmax, a little bit. Epic Times, a little bit. But as a general rule, the mainstream media in this company, Freudian slip, the mainstream media in this country is not touched on what's going on internationally. Huge protests all over the place, all over Europe, particularly in Eastern Europe, former communist bloc countries, because they understand what authoritarianism fucking looks like and reject it outright, like we used to once upon a time here. Look at what's going on in Australia. Trying to turn the entire they're trying to turn the entire island nation, the entire continent, into a police state. And they have largely succeeded, but the people are fucking pushing back. They locked them down in their houses, and the Aussies said enough. And they're charging police barricades, and they're openly violating this shit. And the police have no choice but to react with violence. This is that little footnote is specifically for the black pill guys. Well, eventually, if we push them far enough, they're just going to get violent. That's right. And who wins that fight? Who wins that fight? So if you don't fear the fight, don't fear non-compliance. I digress. They finally hit the breaking point here in the country. I'll start with this. This was last night in Jacksonville, Florida. And this is courtesy of certain people who will remain nameless, who are air traffic controllers. Jacksonville Center air traffic controllers walked out last night over the vaccine mandate, shut the entire station down. Total disaster for airlines, total news blackout. The reply, wow, and that's at JAX. JAX is the call letters for Jacksonville. Yes, 650 flights canceled so far and climbing. Operation is unraveling. Pilots haven't, and the pilots, and this was his footnote, pilots haven't even started to fight yet. Like the pilots haven't even gotten in on board. Now, that leads me right to my next one. This coming from the Geller report. Southwest Airlines, their controllers walked off the job because of the vaccine mandates. More than 1,000 flights canceled. And the Pilots Association, that's just the controllers. That's not even counting the pilots. The Pilots Association filing Friday asked the court to block Southwest mandated COVID jab policy. So the pilots aren't even in yet. Just with the controllers walking out, you've got over 1,000 flights canceled. What's going to affect people? Do you really think? Now, of course, the fawning faithful and the grazers are going to be like, oh my God, it's so horrible. Why don't they just take the jab? And they are going to put the blame on the people, but it doesn't matter because the effect of the policy, we are in the majority. We have the power to shut it down. This shout out specifically going to G-Dub as a truck driver and all the other commercial truck drivers that may be watching this or that are personal friends of mine. Look at what's going on in Australia and a lot of European countries the minute they started making noise about these vaccine mandates. It was the truckers that brought it to a halt. It was the truckers that brought it to a halt. Now, we are already experiencing supply chain difficulties at our ports, right? We're already experiencing those difficulties. How much worse would it get if the truckers said no? I mean, currently this mandate isn't even an executive order coming from Biden. It was a news conference. Dig a little deeper on that. But even assuming it had the imagined force of imagined law and it had come in the way of an executive order, doesn't matter. Because the only thing he'd have the ability to regulate is the ability of truck drivers to go interstate, to regulate interstate commerce. He's really going to shut down the truckers? He's really going to tell truck drivers, if you don't take the jab, you don't get to go, when we're already having supply chain difficulties? Yeah, Bart, but yeah, man, but you know, the educated people, they're not going to believe it. And like the universities that are controlling our kids' head. Well, let me tell you what just happened at let me tell you what just happened at Central Washington University. This one coming from 770 KTAH. And this is up here in liberal country over by Seattle. 3%. All it took was 3% of their 11,000 plus students requesting a religious exemption. The school took their money and said, yeah, we'll grant you the exemptions. And then after they had the fucking tuition money in their pocket, turned around and reversed course. There was such a massive public backlash that CWU, Central Washington University, had to reverse their stance. Why? Because it hit them in the pocketbook. All of a sudden, they were losing not just the tuition, but alumni were threatening to pull their money out of the endowments. Yet another example that we're winning. Yeah, Bart, but when it comes to the fight, eventually they're just going to stick the military on us. Well, here's where it gets even better. This, courtesy of the Washington Post. You ready for this one? Brace yourselves, guys, because this is the big one. Hundreds of thousands of U.S. troops have not yet complied with the vaccine mandate as deadlines near. Now, you would think they'd all been vaccinated by now. Good little compliant ones, the ones that were going to survive Biden's little Stalinist purge of non-loyalists within the military ranks. But literally, according to the Washington Post, and here we are, not very far from the deadline, hundreds of thousands of U.S. service members across all branches of the military, hundreds of thousands, have not yet complied. Hundreds of thousands have not yet complied. Now, you can flex on a small number of non-compliant people, but you're really going to flex on that many? Couple things I want to touch on real quick, and I want you guys to remember this. This courtesy of Eric July. And Sonny, I know you and Eric are friends, and you'll appreciate this. You are under no requirement to play nice with people that have made it clear that they want you to comply or die. Is that hyperbole? Not by a damn sight, because those are their own fucking words. Do what we tell you. And then the grazers, if you don't do what they tell, they flat out, they say what they support. And now they found politicians that will support what they want, which is you for not being a good little obedient Pollyanna grazer. They want you in a camp or dead. Fuck their tolerance rhetoric. Fuck their love and understanding shit. You don't comply, they want you fucking dead. You're under no obligation to play nice with those people. And when their own enforcers, and this is again, I wish I would have had time to pull up a couple more of these, but you know, we're butting up against the time barrier here. But it's also happening in law enforcement, sheriff's departments, and even urban police departments in blue cities, Democrat-controlled cities, officers by the dozens and then the hundreds and then the thousands refusing to comply with vaccine mandates. What does it say for the people allegedly in control? What does it say when their own attack dogs won't comply? What then? For all you guys that still get black-pilled about this kind of stuff and think, yeah, well, you know, they're going to purge the military of all non-loyalists and then those people are going to comply and they're going to enforce it. No. The thing that you have to remember is one of the things they've always said, particularly aimed at the gun crowd. You guys can't fight the government, man. They have tanks and planes and drones and stuff. You guys can't possibly hope to fight that. Well, first of all, I would recommend they ask some Vietnamese farmers in the 1970s. Then I'd ask that they ask some Iraqis outside the green zone. And then I'd recommend that they ask, I don't know, a gaggle of goat fucking savages in Afghanistan. Yeah, Bart, but that's different. Yeah, it is different. I'll tell you exactly how it's different. Number one, we have more small arms in circulation here. But number two, the one thing that didn't exist in Vietnam or Iraq and Afghanistan is the very real possibility that better than half of those soldiers on the battlefield would jump ship and join the insurgency, join the other side. When hundreds of thousands of U.S. soldiers this close to the deadline are refusing to comply with the mandate, it's pretty easy to see that enough will jump ship and join that insurgency that they're calling us. Take heart in that, because they bring their gear, their training, and their expertise with them when they jump ship. We are in the majority. We have the numbers. And just like that slow rolling boil, you know the one about the frog in the pot of boiling water, you bring it to a simmer and you bring it to a boil. As is classic for the left, they turn the heat up too quick. The frog's jumping out of the pot. And when we hit, we're going to hit the ground running. The tipping point has been met and crossed over. We are on the far side. There is nothing we have to gain. There's nothing we have to lose, more to the point. There's nothing we have to lose by standing that we weren't already going to lose by kneeling. So given the choice, fucking stand. I am the Reverend. That is the gospel. I appreciate you guys being here. Wow. We managed to get through all of that and only ran 4 minutes over. Good. because I had a ton, and there's still some that I left behind. There was a whole lot of stuff that I wanted to get to today. Hopefully, I was able to stay somewhat connected and relevant, at least as much as I ever do. But I appreciate you guys coming out. This is my therapy, and this is my chance to hang out with my friends and my fans, my prophets of doom, my sinner sisters. My Reverend's Rangers. I love you guys, man, and I appreciate y'all being here. Look, if anything that I said helped you out in some way, gave you a change in your perspective, pissed you off enough, whatever, and you want to throw me some coin, that would be fantastic. Not everybody is in a position to do so, and I totally get that. So if you can't throw me any coin, that's cool too. I'll pass around the digital collection plate. I'm on PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, Facebook Pay, and all that good stuff. But if you can't do it, that's totally cool. Here's what I'd like for you to do. If you dig what I have to say, you want to spread that gospel out there a little bit, let your friends know, let your family know, let kindred spirits and like minds know. Hey, man, there's a crazy fat toothless cripple that gets on and rants and raves for an hour every week. You know, he's just a crane operator with some opinions, but he's fucking entertaining. You might want to check it out. Turn him on to the program, man. Again, that ticker at the bottom lets you know where everything is, and I'm going to be on Rumble, BitChute, and a couple other platforms coming up pretty soon. It's getting big. But no matter what, one thing you can do, not just for me, but for yourselves, is remember the prime directives and live by it, man. Always, always, always be the light in a world full of darkness. Be the signal in a world full of noise. And always, this is the iron rule. Be that strength in a world full of weakness. You know why the grazers don't like strong people? Is because your strength throws their weakness into starker contrast. They can go through their entire life scared of their own shadow and inconsequential. But if they don't have something strong thrown in their face, they got nothing to contrast it against. They're okay in their weakness. That's why they despise you so much. Like Eric July was saying, you're not obligated to play nice with them. They want you in jail or dead. That's how much they hate you for throwing their weakness into contrast. You know what you do in response to that? You keep being strong. Let them weed themselves out. I am the Reverend. That is the gospel. I appreciate you guys being here. I love y'all, man. Each and every one of you. Stay strong. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. I'll see you next Sunday. Thanks for coming out, guys. Get in touch. Send me a PM. All you guys, send me a message. See you next Sunday.